everybody. Thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View. Tonight, I'm so excited. We're joined by conservative activist and social media influencer. What a title, Christian Walker. Christian, we're so happy to have you join us on the show. Thank you so much. How do you feel, first of all, about being a social media influencer? Did you ever think you'd get that title?
What an honor. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be on the show, and I love that title. And I love that I get to do it in the political realm. It's really fun. I think it's kind of a newer theme.
Yeah, well, I feel like it is pretty amazing to be a social media influencer and yet have conservative views, because I feel like what we always see out there, the people that get the most attention are generally, you know, the folks in Hollywood, the folks on the woke left. But why did you decide to do that? Why be politically active? I mean, you know, politics is something that can be very divisive, but I feel like you've gone like head first. You've just jumped right in.
So, I really started after what I call the BLM terrorist attacks. I mean, when they were ravishing the country, burning buildings down, acting insane, and everybody was supporting it, all these influencers were backing them in their destructiveness. I said, no, this can't stand. There needs to be another voice speaking up, because I think the majority of Americans are against burning buildings down. So that's really how I got my start, and I've kind of built my platform on saying things that nobody else is allowed to say, in fear of losing their job and fear of losing their friends. My platform is built on free speech and conservative values. So I think it's just popular with people because our freedom of speech is under attack and people want to hear truth.
Yeah, and I feel like you make everything you do, though, so entertaining. I don't even remember how I initially started sort of watching some of the videos and some of the stuff you shared on social media, but you're great at it and you were so good. And I was like, I've got to follow this guy. I mean, you were so fantastic. And Christian, I didn't even know who your dad was when I started following you. And by the way, that must mean a lot, right? So for people that don't know, who is your dad? Tell them about your family. But I think that speaks to who you are in your own right, as, you know, a star, and truly as a person that has a lot of gravitas in the political sphere, because your dad is Herschel Walker, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's my favorite thing to hear. I love when people say they don't know who my dad is, because I've tried to build my platform around myself and not just under his shadow or whatever. But yes, my dad's Herschel Walker, was a Heisman Trophy winner, played in the NFL on multiple teams. Owner of his first team was Mr. Donald J. Trump.
Yes.
And yeah, a lot of people who start following me don't know. We try to keep it separate, and works out.
Yeah, but I think that really speaks to what a great job you're doing, that you have people following you and wanting to hear from you, because what you're saying, I think, really resonates with people. And I have a feeling you probably don't know this, but you're giving so many people the courage, Christian, to speak up and speak out about things that they care about, because gosh, we truly do live in a really frightening society where if you have an opinion that is different than, you know, the woke left and than what the mainstream media and the Hollywood elites deem appropriate, they are trying to silence all of us. They are trying to shut us down. They don't want that opinion out there. But what you're doing, you have to keep doing, because I'm telling you, you're encouraging people out there all over the country, young men and women, to speak out and speak up about things that maybe they would have otherwise been scared to do. What is your message to them? Or do you have people that come up to you and talk about, you know, how scared they are, but I assume you're giving them courage to do it?
There's so many people who come up and say really kind things to me. And I think another one of my angles has been that I feel like the left and liberals are really effective at getting their message across. They're kind of fun, they're abhorrent, and the things they say are ridiculous, but they put their message out in fun ways, or they make these colorful infographics on Instagram. And for so long, in my opinion, conservatives have just been too buttoned up and boring, not entertaining, and not effective culturally. So I've tried to make my message fun. I talk in the Starbucks drive-thru while I'm ordering Starbucks.
Yes.
I do things I do think that people don't do. And so I think that has an effect on young people. And when young people see, hey, conservatives can be fun, like it doesn't have to be so like buttoned up and policy all the time. It can be a little opinion, because that's what the left does. And that's why they have such a stronghold on the culture right now. So I think as I continue putting my message out, as people get courage to speak out, we can start to see a difference in the culture and in the country.
So for people that maybe don't know you, tell me a little bit about yourself. You live in LA, is that right?
Yes.
You live in LA, you go to school there. You are a cheerleader, a national champion and world champion cheerleader. And I don't know if you know this, Christian, but in my day, it's been about 700 years ago, I was also a cheerleader. And I want to just take a moment for anyone out there that thinks that cheerleading is not a real sport. I know I didn't say that we were going to talk about cheerleading, but I want to go into this right now because the number of people that are like, oh, that's great, you were a cheerleader. And I'm like, no. You know what? I broke my nose cheerleading. I dislocated my elbow cheerleading. I literally have had some of the worst injuries that I've had, and I've played all the sports out there. Cheerleading is a real sport. Well, let me get your take on that.
It's absolutely a real sport. I'll say two things. I was a gymnast till I was 14 years old, and then at 14, I transitioned into competitive cheerleading. When a lot of people think about cheerleading, they think about cheering on the football players or just yelling things. No, I didn't do that at all. I didn't cheer on football players. We did routines. There was gymnastics involved. There were these difficult stunts that the football players and all these people with big mouths saying cheerleading's not a sport couldn't do. They couldn't last an hour in practice. So it is most definitely a real sport. It totally gave me the character that I have. My coaches taught me to only accept first place, only accept winning, only accept the very best. And I take that forward throughout my life and through all the different endeavors that I go on. So I'm really grateful for cheerleading.
Oh my gosh, me too. And I have to say a big shout out to my dad, because my dad, I remember standing in the backyard with me. In order to make like the varsity team in high school, you had to be able to do a back handspring. My dad probably stood outside in the backyard with me for days, whenever you add up all the hours of practicing. And I was so proud when I got my back handspring. Ask me the last time that I did one, because it's been a minute. But
when I see you, we'll go in the yard and do it.
Oh, there we go. If you spot me, maybe I'll give it a shot. Look, there's so much going on out there, I feel like, in this country, and we're looking forward to 2022. So many people keep talking about 2022 as sort of a reckoning of sorts. Whenever you see what has happened in the first 100 days of Joe Biden as president of the United States, when you see the direction that this country is headed in now with Joe Biden at the helm, with Democrats in charge, Christian, of the Senate, of the House, it's a really scary thing. And people are looking forward to 2022, I think, so that we can get some better Republicans, get some people in these seats that are going to stand up for America. Now, I know there's been a lot of talk about your dad possibly running for Senate in Georgia. How would you feel about that? Would it be weird to first have your dad be like this college football legend, to be an incredible professional player, and then a senator? How do you think he'd do?
I think he'd do a good job. I think, the American people are craving more people in the political sphere that are just normal Americans. Sure, he may not be like a working class American, but he's in touch with average everyday Americans who are not professional politicians. These first 100 days have been an absolute disaster. We are going 100 miles per hour towards hell in a third world country. And I think even a lot of people that voted for Biden are waking up and saying, whoa, 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 this is not what I was expecting. This is not what I voted for. I didn't vote for $10 a gallon of gas, running out of this, shortages. It's like, it's a chicken short. It's just a disaster. So 2022 is going to be a super important year for us. And I think another thing you mentioned, Republicans, electing Trumpian Republicans. There's two types of Republicans at the end of the day. People who hold Trumpism values, which it's not like worshiping Donald Trump. It's all the issues that President Trump placed importance on. People who value border security and election integrity, lower tax, all of it, versus the establishment Republican. We're ready for more Americans who care about American issues, not professional politicians.
Did you grow up, Christian, whenever you were growing up, was politics discussed in your house? Because it's kind of unique. I feel like that your dad has really become a symbol for so many of speaking up for conservative values. I know, he was so great during the campaign with my father-in-law. I see him on TV all the time. But likewise, you too. Was it sort of just talked about, or did you just grow up with a sense of general like common sense, or was that a big emphasis in your house?
It's so weird. We didn't talk about it ever.
So funny.
I mean, my dad, especially, like, I don't recall him really having the news on. My mom occasionally had the news on. I didn't really pay attention. And then when I was about 14 years old, I started listening and paying attention to politics. And I had certain political talking heads that I loved, political pundits that I started following in love with and reading a lot. And then it took off from there. But for so long, I was silent. I didn't speak out. So it was about 6 years of me just doing research and studying before I started speaking about my opinion.
But you know what, very clearly you were brought up in the way that I was, that so many Americans were, and you love this country, you love what America stands for, you love the freedoms that we have here, and that was ingrained, I feel like, in so many of us growing up. And so it's just amazing that it wasn't like a big part of what you did growing up. By the way, for me either, we didn't talk politics at my house at all. And here I am. I mean, who would have ever thought? It's kind of crazy. But sometimes I feel like we're all put in these places for a reason. And look, what you're doing, what I'm doing, hopefully it influences other people to speak out and stand up for, what they believe in and American values. Because gosh, once we lose that, I mean, it's pretty clear where the left wants to take us. They want to take us on a path towards socialism. It's already starting. We're already seeing the beginnings of it. So we got to have more people that are willing to get out in front of these issues and talk about them. I want to give you a chance, though, to talk about something positive. I feel like all anybody talks about is negative. What do you think the best part about America is? Because, gosh, there's so much we could say, but I feel like, we all need to remember the great parts of America and continue to fight for it.
So when I look at pictures of other countries or I see food lines or whatever, it really shocks me. I think the ability to just be able to go to a grocery store and have shelves of food, there's endless consumption in America. You can take care of yourself. You have an opportunity to grow in society. You don't have to stay in the same place. All these little things that we take for granted, they don't have access to in other countries. Grocery stores, I always tell people, I think the number one thing I'm thankful for is I can always go to the grocery store and get food. I never have to worry about eating. I never have to worry about water. These are things that in certain South American countries, the Middle East, African countries, they don't have. And so we need to be more grateful for that, especially under leadership like Joe Biden, who we have endless shortages at the moment.
It's frightening how quickly that sort of happened. So obviously I've asked you the best part of America. What do you think? I mean, as someone who you're the next generation, right? You are a generation that will come up and have to take charge of this country at some point in the next 20 years or so. What do you feel like is the biggest threat right now to the future of America?
I think the biggest threat, number one, is culture change. America values certain things. We value individuality. We value freedom from the government. The government works for us. We are not slaves to the government. And I think we have a generation, number one, and there's different reasons why this is happening. I argue immigration and open borders. But this culture shift to want the government to have more control, to not want to work as hard, to want equality of outcome versus equality of opportunity, which we have. Everyone has an opportunity to climb up in society, to make more money, to start a business, whatever. And it seems like this new generation and these socialist Marxist professors and these socialist political commentators are teaching my generation to value all being equal at the end of the day. That doesn't incentivize people to work harder. So I think that's probably the biggest threat. It's a culture shift to value un-American ideals like not having individuality, but rather collectivism.
Yeah, gosh, so well said. Equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. And I feel like as someone who obviously has been an athlete for so much of your life, you learned the same way I did. Look, you've got to work for it. If you want it, if you want to win, you have to put in the effort, and it should be the same way across the board. We should not be incentivizing people right now to stay home. The government should not just be giving handouts. Our small businesses are dying because of it. People don't want to go to work. We should not ever be reliant on the government for anything. Our future is in our hands, period. So incredibly well said, Christian. You truly are so far ahead of your time. And it does make me feel good to know that our future of America is in the hands of people like you, because how smart, how bold. Keep doing what you do, because again, you are really inspiring to so many people, even if you don't know it. But I assume in LA, are you surprised in LA? Do people come up to you still out? Like, it seems like such a blue area, but are people coming up to you out there?
There's so many conservatives in LA. It's actually mind-blowing. There's so many people that just don't speak out. I think because LA is Hollywood, a lot of people automatically assume. But no, we had these huge Trump rallies in Beverly Hills. I'm not sure if you saw them online before the election. It was thousands of people. I have people come up to me. I have people messaging me saying they live in LA. But at my school, at UCLA, they are literally out of their minds, blue-haired socialists, LGBT, the whole activist thing, and they hate me. So I love causing a ruckus on campus and bringing some conservatism to liberal UCLA.
Well, good for you. Keep it up. And I hope that you'll report back. We'll keep an eye on things. Next time we do this, maybe we could do it like live from my backyard, and we can do some tumbling for everybody and let them see what cheerleading is all about. But Christian Walker, I want to say thank you. Thanks for joining us on The Right View, and thanks for being such a great voice out there and an inspiration to so many. We hope you'll come back soon.
Thank you so much. It was so fun.
All right. Well, thank you to Christian and to everybody at home. We'll see you back here next time for more of The Right View.